Have you ever walked into a room and just felt something? Before anyone even says a word, before you have any idea what's going on, there's just this quality in the air. That's what we're diving in today. That super subtle feeling that comes before words and thoughts. Our source material calls it atmosphere. Okay, let's get into it. And this quote right here, it's really the core of everything we're talking about. It's a feeling we all know, but we usually just brush it off. But what if it's not just a feeling? What if it's actually the very first layer of how we understand the world? Not a judgment, not quite an emotion yet, but something much, much deeper. So let's really try and pin down what this feeling is. We're not talking about simple emotions like being happy or sad. We're talking about the space that exists before we can even put those kinds of labels on it. I mean, we've all experienced these, right? That sudden weight of the air in a quiet room, or the invisible tension that hangs there right before a fight. The source material has a great name for these: unnamed qualia. It's like the texture of the world is seeping out, and we feel that pressure before our brain has even had a chance to name it or turn it into a story. Okay, now this is where it gets really cool. This atmosphere isn't just some random noise or a fuzzy intuition. The source actually describes it as the first interference pattern. Think about it like ripples in a pond when two waves cross each other. That new pattern that emerges, that's the information. It's born from the intersection of you and the world around you. So you might be thinking, this is all just a vague, poetic idea. But what's so fascinating is that this feeling, this atmosphere, actually has a clear, observable structure. And it's not just a human thing. It points to a way more fundamental principle of how meaning gets made. A principle so basic, we can even see a version of it in artificial intelligence. So let's be super clear on this because it's a really important distinction. Atmosphere is not just a mood. According to our source, it's the pre-phase of meaning. It's the raw data, this structural gradient that kind of creates the landscape where our emotions and thoughts are eventually built. It's the step before the emotion. And the process is actually pretty elegant when you break it down. First, you've got the atmosphere, that raw interference pattern. Then our system starts to sort it, kind of folding it into big general buckets. Is this a good thing for me or a bad thing? Comfort or discomfort? It's only after that step that our conscious mind jumps in to put specific words on it and build a story. And this is the real mind bender. Look at the shared structure here. For humans, raw sensation creates a gradient that leads to meaning. For an AI, probability creates a gradient that leads to a generated response. That middle step, that gradient, it's basically the same kind of engine running under the hood. It's a map of possibilities, and it suggests there's this really deep structural similarity in how both we and AI make sense of the world. And this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea we're pulling out of thin air. It actually lines up with some pretty solid science. You see it in physics with wave interference, where new things emerge from overlapping forces. You see it in information theory, where meaning is literally born at the spot where different streams of data meet. It seems like this is just a fundamental pattern of the universe. Okay, so we've talked about the what and the how, but what about the so what? Why does paying attention to this subtle, pre-verbal feeling actually matter in our real lives? Well, it turns out it has huge implications for our relationships, our work, and even our creativity. It's a source of incredibly valuable information, but only if we learn how to tune into it. Just think about a close relationship. You know that feeling, right? Long before a big argument happens, the atmosphere between two people has already changed. That tension you feel isn't just you being dramatic. It's real data. It's an early warning sign that the structure of the relationship is shifting. If you're sensitive to it, you can navigate things with way more care. And it's not just personal relationships. Think about your workplace. That heavy air in a meeting, it's not just a couple of people in a bad mood. Our source suggests it's a direct signal of a systemic problem, like a traffic jam in the flow of information or trust. It's basically diagnostic data about the health of the entire organization. And if you're a creative person, a writer, an artist, an innovator, this is absolutely crucial. You know that little buzz of an unformed idea? That's the atmosphere. If you rush to define it and slap a label on it too quickly, you can kill its potential. The real magic happens when you can nurture that atmospheric phase, just letting it exist in that fertile silence before the breakthrough. Okay, so let's bring all of this together into something practical, because this isn't just a theory, it's a skill. It's an art, really. The art of learning how to consciously stay in that space before meaning becomes fixed. The source material calls this skill contemplation, and it's not about gathering more facts. It's about turning your attention around and examining the way you're seeing things. It's like taking a step back, and instead of just looking at the world, you start to notice how you're looking at it. It's the technique for holding that atmosphere without rushing to a conclusion. And this is where the real power is. The goal is to actively preserve this pre-phase. It's about resisting that knee-jerk reaction we all have to immediately judge a situation, label a feeling, or solve a problem. When you can do that, you give a clearer, more accurate, and usually much more compassionate version of reality a chance to emerge. So I'll leave you with this question, which is really something to chew on. In our day-to-day lives, in our conversations, even inside our own heads, how can we practice this? How can we learn to hold that nameless atmospheric quality as a pure observation, just a piece of data about the world, instead of immediately collapsing it into a judgment? The answer to that, well, it just might change how you see everything.